on what Ramon said, and I'll do it and try to do it in 10 minutes, max 15 minutes, so that we have time for conversation. I'm going into the implication of this analysis that Ramon gives for research and politics. What are the implications of it? The first implication is this. We are developing a theoretical framework for decolonizing knowledge. Right? And in the development of this framework, we're looking at how Western knowledge was founded on the White Enlightenment. The concept on categories of White Enlightenment. And White Enlightenment created liberalism as one narrative of knowledge and Marxism as the critique of it. Right? Intersectionality is a narrative of liberation founded in liberalism of the White Enlightenment. Not even in Marxism, in liberalism. Why? Because it takes the individual at the center of analysis. That is what Crenshaw did in her conceptualization of intersection. It is an individual that sits on the intersection of the road of oppression by racism, the road of oppression by gender. So if you acknowledge that intersectionality is a narrative, a Eurocentric narrative, founded in the liberal tradition, not even in the Marxist tradition, then the next question will be, what kind of research do you do? Because from the concept of individualism, the research is along lines like, let's see what women earn if they are women. Let's see what blacks earn if they are blacks. And let's see what black women earn. And then you can do this kind of empirical research because it's in the individual. If you would take a decolonial analysis which takes the concept of community, not class even, but the concept of community, and the world has produced a multiplicity of communities. If you take the community and then you ask yourself, how is a community oppressed? Then it's not only about wage. It's about culture, language. It's about institutions. If your analysis of oppression is about institutions, you can't analyze oppression from an individual point of view. You have to analyze, how is language oppressed? How is culture oppressed? How is power directed towards a community? So if you want to have a research agenda, your research agenda is about institutional racism. How is racism institutionally? And intersectionality can't give you that because it's a contradiction of individual and community. The next thing is that it builds on a part of the Enlightenment tradition in terms of concepts. Take the concept of patriarchy. Where is this concept based on? It's based on the idea that you have you observe the relationship between men and women, where you observe male domination. Right? In history, you observe male domination, and then you give it a category, patriarchy. So that is basically what's about, domination of male. And then you do what the White Enlightenment has done. Humans are objectified in categories which leaves out all the other human aspects and focuses on this specific thing, male domination. But human relations, that is what we know from experience, is not, relations between men and women are not only based on power, it's also based on love. So how do you have a theory of the relationship between man and human that excludes that a man can love a woman can love a man, a mother can love a son can love a mother? you exclude that with the concept of patriarchy doesn't make you understand how it's possible. Why? Because white enlightenment has created a lot of other concepts that dehumanized the human and made it into categories which are objects, which objectify it. Now, if we put up a research agenda to understand gender, class, community, coloniality, etc., and we take intersectionality or Marxism as the narrative of liberation, then you get the whole story, as Ramon has explained, of how it is inconsistent with the practical experience of the people living under colonial oppression. You can't understand it. And Ramon has explained that eloquently. So, if we want to set up a new research agenda about gender, then we don't go back to patriarchy as a concept, as the sole concept. You take patriarchy, male domination is there, but it's not the sole concept. You have to develop the new concept about how relationships between men and women are also structured on community, on love, on other aspects, on care. And that theory is excluded in intersectionality, it's excluded in feminism, and it's included as part of, Ramon talked about love, in the theory we are trying to develop in this new knowledge of decolonizing the mind and knowledge and power. The other aspect which comes into white liberalism is the neglect of how power, what power means. Because if you take an individual, then you can't understand, if you talk about gender oppression, you propose that women can't be oppressors. But women have sold men during slavery, have sold women during slavery. What about intersection of oppressor? That concept is not in intersectionality, it's only about intersection of oppression, but not of oppressor. But we know that, as Ramon explained, you know, how a woman can be an oppressor, along the sort of being and non-being. So what does this mean for your research? One research agenda which intersectionality never can come up with is a research on how women oppress men, how LGBT oppressed men, colonized men. You don't have that research agenda. You can't have that research agenda, women as oppressors, because you don't have the notion of it. Now, let me take you to the political implications of this. Because our narrative and knowledge is linked to activism, and all around the world, you know, we know all kinds of activists who time and again comes up with this discussion on intersectionality. We try to figure out what is it that intersectionality has led to a trend where it became a tool of rule and divide. What we've seen in my experience in Europe, in different countries of Europe, where we see that, I'll give you the concrete example in Holland. There's a movement against blackface. There's a tradition in Holland, a racist tradition every year where they organize for months long blackface, right? Now, the people against blackface, organizing against blackface, are a broad layer which includes religious people, non-religious